This podcast is a proud supporter of The Wellness Company. Go to twc.health/alternate take and type in the promo code alternate take, one word, and you'll get 10% off. The Wellness Company is the best company to get your health in order. I go there, I get the Ultimate Spike Detox, I get the Medical Emergency Kit, you can get ivermectin and mebendazole, you can get all kinds of stuff. I get the Bison Trifecta, I get all the greatest stuff. It's all promoted by the great Dr. Peter McCullough, who we've had on the podcast multiple times now. He's the Chief Scientific Officer of the company, so whatever he promotes, I'm in, dude. The guy knows exactly what he's talking about. So go to twc.health/alternate take and get 10% off all your wellness needs. This podcast is also brought to you by LifeRx.md. They are one of the largest custom GLP and peptide companies in the United States. LifeRx is helping thousands of people take back control of their health with personalized peptide protocols, including GLP-1s, starting at just $250 a month. There are no contracts, no subscriptions, no hidden fees, and best of all, no insurance or wait lists required. With 24/7 customer support, LifeRx is accessible, affordable, and built for people who are ready to become the healthiest versions of themselves. So whether you're looking to lose weight, optimize performance, or simply feel better in your body, LifeRx makes it easy to get started. Visit liferx.md and use code ALTERNATE and check out and get $50 off your first month to get started today. That's liferx.md and use code ALTERNATE to start a journey to a healthier you with support that actually works. The link is in the episode description. What's up, everybody? This is Alternate Take, man. We brought you the amazing Sheriff Chad Bianco. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Yeah, of course. It's been a huge honor of mine to get you on the show. We've been trying to get you for a while, and it's great. You know, what you're doing or what you've done with Riverside County already is incredible, and what you're planning on doing for Governor of California is even better. But before we get to all your accolades later, let's talk about Chad Bianco. Let's talk about the humble beginnings of Chad Bianco, sir. Tell us, everybody, where you're from.
Very good. I grew up in Utah. I grew up in a very small town in Utah. There was about 1,200 people in the town. I grew up very athletic, very outdoors, great parents, great grandparents. I had a great childhood. Part of being athletic, I came to California when I was 11 to play in the Little League World Series, and that was my love of California. We went to Santa Monica, and it was just amazing. The first time, 11 years old, I didn't even know what an arcade was, and they took us into an arcade. There's just an entire building of nothing but video games. It was fantastic for an 11-year-old. The beach, the girls at the beach, everything was just amazing. So I went home after that trip and told my parents that I was moving to California. My mom made me promise I wouldn't do anything until I was an adult. And so once I became an adult, I moved to California. I moved to California for what other people outside of California that are growing up, especially in a small town like I was, it's the California dream. If you want to make something for yourself, it's in California. You've got to move to California, and anything you want, you can work hard enough and achieve it there. That's what people outside of California used to believe, and that's what brought me here. And I truly did find my California dream. I married a California beauty queen, and we raised a family here. And I've had an amazing life. I was able to give my kids an amazing life. And you get to the point now where that's not available anymore. My kids don't have the same opportunity in California that I had. And certainly now that I have grandkids, my kids are wondering where they're going to have to move to be able to raise their kids in a good environment, in a good school system where the cost of living isn't so high that they can actually enjoy their kids and give them the things that they want to give them. So really with this, not outside of the public safety realm, that's an entirely different animal of why I'm running for governor, because of the complete failure of public safety from our government. But the cost of living, the cost of housing, the cost of gas, all of those things is truly what is making me do this. And it's certainly not for me. I'm at the end of my my life really. I've made it for myself. We've paid off all of our bills. I can retire. I can move on and just enjoy the kids and the grandkids. But I truly do believe that I'm in a position right now because of who I am as the sheriff of Riverside County, what I've done since being thrown on the national stage in 2020 for sticking up for the rights of Californians. I think that I'm in the best position of anyone else here in California to finally get our state back on track to where we're working for Californians instead of a big government. And that's truly the reason why I'm doing it. And it's going well so far. We're getting unbelievable momentum from Californians. And I guess as we talk about this campaign, as I'm sure we're going to, I need to make it very clear. You can't get past the fact that I'm a conservative Republican. I'm a conservative Christian Republican. Nothing is ever going to change that, and I am unapologetically those things. However, I am not running this race or going to win this race for the Republican Party. I'm certainly not doing it for the Democrat Party, the independents, anything like that. I am doing this for Californians because currently what we have here is a government that has completely forgotten about Californians, and all they care about is political identity. The government only cares about an agenda, political identity, and furthering their political agenda. Californians have been cast aside, and that's who I'm running this race for. I'm running this race for it not only to be a voice, but to be a leader for all of Californians to make sure that your California dream is achievable.
That's awesome. It's really refreshing to hear, someone like yourself speak so eloquently about that because I think politics has changed a lot in the sense of how people vote, and I think people vote more on relatability more now than ever. I think we all got conned for a long time as voters, and now we just want to vote for somebody who just seems regular. At the end of the day, who just has regular values. That's that story you told about coming from Utah and coming for the Cal. I love that. Who doesn't? And I don't know why when you're talking about it, it made me think of Bad News Bears and the second one where where they hijack, where they oh, we're going with this coach and he's just a gardener, and they take the van and they drive all the way to Houston for that's the best. I don't know why I thought about that, but to me that's like a regular childhood. That's what kids used to be in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and you want people that are regular during that time that had a great American dream and lived it, and to be our leaders now because they know how to recapture that past. I mean, God forbid, that's the nostalgia is what everyone wants now. You go on Netflix, everything's nostalgia. The biggest show is Stranger Things. It's based on the 80s. Every movie now is a remake from the 80s, and there's a reason why. It was a good time during the 80s. So, I think having people like that, like you, who run in whether any state or whatever, or in a higher office in federal, it's just always refreshing for a regular person who's just maybe not even into politics, maybe they are into politics, to see that because if you seem relatable, there's always way more beneath the eye. If the relatable people tend to be the most actually intellectual people, smartest people, they know how to talk to any crowd, and that is appealing to anybody. It's like going to a comedy show and seeing a comedian who can make kind of everybody laugh. That is, that is what we're looking at, and that is what voters are looking at. And I think that's your strongest point that I see, that I think is the best with you, is that you just seem so humble and so relatable, and who doesn't want to vote for that?
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of people are telling me that. I think a lot of it too is it's that aspect. It's just that you're just one of us. I'm just a guy that works so I can spend all my money on my kids and my wife and now my grandkids. I mean, that's my life. What can I do to work hard to be able to buy them cool things or things that they want or take them on whatever the case may be. And that's all I've done my whole life. I certainly not a millionaire. I definitely not a silver spoon type person. I despise politics. I think politics are ruining the entire country, not just California. Even though I'm an elected official, I consider myself definitely what you were saying about, smart or anything like that. I would never say that I'm smarter than anyone else, but I will tell you that I will put my common sense and reasoning ability above anyone. And that's everything to me is right, wrong, common sense, do the right thing for other people, care about other people more than yourself, and it's just common sense. We can all reason those things and say, yeah, that doesn't make sense. We're not doing that. We're going to do something different. And then you add the fact that in law enforcement, and certainly not saying that law enforcement is better, we're just different than everyone else, in that my whole life, 32 years of my life now, is solving emergencies. That's all I do is answer 911 calls all day long and go in and quickly solve emergencies as fast as I can and then move on to the next emergency. So where everyone else panics in emergencies and needs to have meetings and all of these things, you just attack it. It's like, what's the problem? Okay, now let's fix it. That's how you do things. And you use common sense, you use reason. And the biggest thing, especially in government, is you do the right thing for people, not yourself. If you're thinking about yourself, if you're thinking about your office or your election or your government, you're thinking in the wrong place. That's not how you're supposed to be thinking. It is supposed to be thinking about how can you make someone else's life better that you're representing. And I think that's the appeal that I have to people. I've been extremely successful in law enforcement, a nationwide leader of law enforcement. And with that, that wasn't easy. That comes with a career-long dedication to honesty, transparency, ethics, morals, all of those things that allowed me not only to promote, but to be elected twice to a countywide office. And what people tell me is that's my likability factor. I'm just a regular guy that they can relate to, that I might as well be their neighbor, that they're like, yeah, that guy's looking out for me and I think he's going to do the right thing.
Yeah, completely. Especially like if you have any sort of like knowledge about how like, either a sheriff's department or police department work, there's so many different roles that like if you complete all those roles throughout your career, it will just make you an excellent politician. I mean, if I think if you didn't have any like knowledge about how they work, you would just think, oh, he's just a cop, so he probably thinks everything is pro cop. Well, yeah, he was at some point in his career. He was on the streets and arresting bad people, but then he was a supervisor. And now he's in charge of coaching the people that are patrolling the streets. And then he's a supervisor of the supervisor. And after the supervisor, then he's in a higher position. Then he's in a more of like a front office position where he's doing this. So like you're hitting a bunch of different roles all the way up. You got all the way to the top, which is now a sheriff is not only the leader of his department, but is also a representative of the people of the county too. So you have to do so many different things. You're getting called at 2, 3 in the morning to go to murders and speak to the press. And you got to, do all these things to make sure the community feels safe. There's a lot of stuff. So there's so many steps that you take that just because of all that experience, it's so tremendously like positive for you going into this realm. Because as to where, let's say someone in government, maybe they were just a local politician, senator, and then now they're in the states, and like now they're like immediately can go straight to senator, and you're like, there was a huge gap there where they just didn't, they could have learned a lot more, and they probably got in a corrupt way, and yours was not. Yours is clearly not. Yours is in a very honorable profession, and it was done step by step, and I think that is a huge plus for you going into this race for sure.
Yeah, I do too. And then when you think about the size of my agency, I have 4,400 employees. My budget is 1.3, just shy of $1.3 billion dollars that I finish in the black every year. I don't believe in spending more money than what government has, unlike every other politician. So everything that we do is to try and streamline, to save money, to provide a better service, more service for less money, all those types of things. And then when you look at what I actually do, we are such a large county. I'm the fourth largest sheriff's office in the country. And with what I do, not only am I the elected sheriff of the entire county, we also contract with 17 cities for police services. So I'm the chief of police of 17 cities. And so I have to interact with those city councils and those city managers and finance people, and in addition to the county. And then we have our own, that we have to manage. It's a massive, massive business, if you will, all on government funds that we're doing it actually correctly. So if we only went off of resume in this election, we took names off, we took party off, you didn't know whether you're voting Democrat, Republican, and you didn't know who the name was, we just put resume, what someone does, and whether or not they're qualified, I would win really 100% to nothing. Because in this campaign, there is no one that has the qualifications that I have to run our state for Californians.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And The most frustrating part about it is like everyone knows that we need a big culture shift in California. Everyone knows that. I mean, it's even people that are like diehard Democrats or to the left, they understand that too. I mean, they're not blind to what's going on. They know that the election, that how poorly they lost, and obviously the national election. But in California, there's so many issues that we've had here forever. And you're right. The dream that you got to live is not the dream of your kid's life anymore. It's just not, and it's crazy because like you mentioned, like you came here on the California dream. I watched a documentary the other day. It was about the Comedy Store in LA, the comedy club, and it was about all the comics in the '70s and '80s and how they all came here and they're talking so positively about California, and it's like it's kind of weird to hear it because you're just like, man, I don't even know what that's like anymore. But um, they're like, man, like you came here and like anything could happen. Like it was the best. You came here and you didn't even care if you got a job as a pizza man. You're just like, I'm here in California. I'm here in LA. Like this is where I could thrive. Like no matter what. And now you got. I mean, I think this is the third or fourth year in a row of people like the rate of population in California has gone down,
Yeah.
and that's just it's very unfortunate to see. But there are policies in place, and that's the one thing that I think I like about you is that there's actually like a track record. Like it's just like sports. Like if someone is a good coach here and then they go to another team and then they're also a good coach there and they go to another team, okay, like they're proving that like it's not the team that's good, it's that they know how to make a team perform. They know how to make everything. They know how to make an organization perform, and that's something that you can honestly say. And that is what's great is that if we get you in there, then we already know his strategies work. He hasn't gone astray. He hasn't done us wrong ever. So like as to where everyone else that's running, you're like, dude, like we can poke holes in their stuff all day, and it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's why I'm excited about the election. I'm certainly not worried about we have to realize and we have to be honest about what we're doing. It's a Democrat run state, and I am running against the Democrat agenda that has complete stranglehold of California. They control 100% of everything. So that's what I'm running against. And so we just need to be honest about it. So it's not something that's secret. It's something that they can't defend either. All they have to do is point to something other than the weather that's going on great in California, and they really can't. I mean, we can't afford gas. We can't afford, groceries. Our taxes are the worst. The unemployment is the worst. Everything in California is just going downhill, and it's not been like that. When I came here, it was not like that. It was Everything about California was great. Yes, you have little dips and recessions and everything else, but the movement is always forward. You could always work harder, and we just need that back. It's like that was like 2 generations ago, I think, and it's that California was great. California was the best state in the country, and my campaign is really pushing. We need the great California comeback. We need to what you were talking about at the Comedy Store where everyone wanted to come here. That's not like that anymore. I mean, Hollywood is even gone. We don't even film movies here anymore. So businesses don't want to come to California because they'll lose their business. The businesses are fleeing California. We just need that great California comeback and I hope to be the person that leads it. And it's not just going to be me. There's millions and millions of people that are like, yeah, we're done. We want something better. We want something different, and we're going to trust that guy to get it done for us. We're really, really confident that we're going down that path, and we're gonna be successful at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't have said it better. I think the coolest thing is that there are a lot of Californians who are sticking around to hopefully see the comeback. I don't blame anyone for leaving. I really don't. I've checked out other states. They're just not for me. I I love visiting, but I love California. I do. I love. I'm a Orange County kid. Love Orange County. I grew up in like Whittier, La Habra, so I'm kind of like a tweener from LA and Orange County. But I love all of California. I love being an hour from Big Bear. I love being an hour from San Diego. It's a beautiful state, and it would be a shame to like give up and to not use your voting powers to try to get someone in there to do something. I think I think it's like a civic duty. I probably didn't think that when I was young. I just cared about Notre Dame and the Dodgers, and and that's it. And I was
Yeah,
like,
and
but
that's okay. And you know what? At a time, if government was working how it's supposed to and working for us, that's all we should have to worry about. I mean, we can worry about whether or not the Dodgers are winning, or we can worry about our favorite college sports team, or anything. We can just worry about our little house and in our neighborhood and just make sure that that's all good. We don't have to worry about the big thing. But now overarching government has now negatively affected everyone. And so we can't just worry about those things or concentrate on those things that are fun, because now our lives are being either controlled or sometimes even ruined by horrible, horrible government decisions. And that's, I think, why people are starting to wake up a little bit and stand up and say, I am going to fight for California because I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave my home. I love it here. And I'm at the point really in my career where I could just pull the plug and go to one of the other 10 states that don't have taxes, that have a way cheaper cost of living, and I could just enjoy the rest of my life. But I'm not going to be kicked out of my home. I am not going to allow someone to force me into something that I don't want to do. And that truly is why I decided to do this. It finally is not only for myself. It was yeah, you can't make me go. If I go, it's going to be because I want to go, not because you forced me into it. And then it's like, man, this was awesome for me. I want my kids and my grandkids to have the same thing that California gave me. And that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Love to hear it. Um, as governor, if you were elected as governor, what are the like powers that you would have that would allow you to make significant changes in either law enforcement or education? I know those are like the two biggest things right now. Obviously, the economy is the most important, but like those are the two biggest things that people are really fighting against in California, in the sense of people feel unsafe and people don't trust the public school system anymore. What would the what are the things that you can do? Because essentially you're coming into a situation kind of like the way Trump came into a situation where there's like so many things that you got to fix, and it's got to be one by one, and and systematically and pragmatically. And I get it. So there's a lot on your plate. But for those two specific things, what would something that like a governor can do to make significant improvements? I mean, either quickly or over time.
Yeah, there's ways to do both. So you're exactly right. Public safety is tops. That's what's everyone's mind. It doesn't matter even if I lower the cost of living here. If you're not safe, no one's going to want to live here. If you're worried, I mean, we're worried even if you're wealthy now and the economy and the cost of living may not bother you, but you can't go to the mall because you're afraid someone's going to follow you home and rob you when you get there, or you're going to get shot going to your car, on the way out from the mall with carrying luggage because someone's going to try and steal it from you. That's where we're living at in California in a time where criminals are being emboldened by a legislature, lawmakers who are making it okay to commit crimes, and they're taking away the consequence. So putting a sheriff who I've dedicated my whole adult life into keeping people safe and doing everything that we could to keep people safe, that's what I'm taking into Sacramento. And truly, keeping people safe is the government's number one responsibility. It's not free healthcare. It's not any of those entitlements that people want or think are cool or expect. It's keeping people safe. That is from the very beginning of our government in the United States and California. Government's role is to keep us safe. And I will make that our number one priority again. It will be a crime to commit a crime. You will be held accountable for committing crime. You are going to go to jail, and you're going to stay in jail until you decide you're not going to do that anymore and you're not going to victimize us when you get out. That's how things are supposed to be. There has to be a consequence to change behavior. So that's number one. Fire also has to have, that's part of public safety, is being able to keep us safe, stop the Palisades from happening, all of those things. Education, you're right on the money. Education is government's responsibility to make sure we educate our kids, the next generation of kids, to take over for us when we move into retirement. And California has gone from an education aspect to an indoctrination purpose. That's their whole purpose, is to get kids to not like their parents, get kids to not trust America, not like the what made us great, which is a free market system and freedom, and give into socialism, give into entitlements. And you don't need to be rich. We'll just make you comfortable, and you don't have to work for that car. We'll tell you what car you can have, and we'll give it to you. People are giving up their freedoms for that, and they're convinced in school to do it. And that's what's wrong. That has to be changed. The indoctrination process has to change. As the governor, I control the money. So if that's what's going to happen in the schools, you aren't getting the money for it. Plain and simple. And if you want the money to operate your schools, you're going to have to change the agenda. You're going to be held responsible for test scores once again. People really don't understand that they took away test scores in school. Test scores don't matter anymore because their rate test scores are racist, or they hurt someone's feelings if they didn't get an A. Well, work harder then. That's what it's supposed to be doing. And what made us great has been taken away, and we have to put that back into the education system. One of the big things that we see in the education system is it's really, truly. I was a high school coach. Not only am I a dad of a girl, I was a high school coach. I coached baseball, but I also coached cross country of a girls' teams, of middle school and high school girls' teams. And knowing that, not only being a dad, not only being a coach, what our school system is allowing with boys to compete against girls is the most asinine thing I have ever heard of in my entire life. You talk about lack of common sense. That will not ever happen with me as the governor. They will not be in a girls' locker room. You look at what potentially has to happen. Worst case scenario is an 18-year-old high school senior. It's okay for that guy to go into the 14-year-old girl's locker room who's a freshman and just strip down naked in front of her, and that's somehow okay. That is not okay. Not for a law person. That someone needs to be arrested. And I've told people in our school system in Riverside County, if you are an administrator and you are enabling that to happen and that little girl to be victimized, I'm going to arrest you. And so far in Riverside County, we haven't had any parents complain or kids complain that that has happened, because I've made it very clear that I will arrest the principal, I'll arrest the coach. Whoever enabled that to happen is going to jail. And I should be the governor and make sure that it's not across the entire state. Another thing is government imposed vaccinations. If you want your kids vaccinated, then by all means, we have the vaccines available. You go ahead. But if you don't want them vaccinated, if you don't want them chemicals put in your child's body, then you shouldn't be forced to do it to get into school. And we're going to eliminate all of those crazy things that have happened in the last little while, and we're putting common sense back in. We're putting parents' rights back where they belong. Is responsible and in charge of your kids. It's not the government's responsibility. It's your job as a parent. And that all goes in the school system. And then you get into, so those are the three. And then the cost of living, that's really the overarching thing for everything. We will be oil independent. You can't get, the environmentalists don't like oil, but the fact is, we use more oil than any state in the country. We have more oil than any state in the country here in California, but we import 80% of it into the state from other countries, making them rich and us getting no benefit from it. We're still going to utilize that oil, but with me as your governor, we will take it all from California. We can fund the government. My number one issue for every person out there in California is, by the time I'm done of my second term in California, you're going to love me the first term, you'll elect me again, and by the end of that second term, there will no longer be a California state income tax. There is absolutely no reason why the greatest state in the country, with the fourth, fifth largest economy in the world, is taxing their residents the most, when there are 10 other states in the country that do not tax their residents, and they are all thriving. We will be the best state in the country, and it's going to be without government regulation, without government taxes. It's going to be people like you and I that just want to make our lives better, our kids' lives better, and our communities' lives better. And we're going to stimulate the economy how it's supposed to be, with innovation, with ingenuity, with good old-fashioned American hard work.
I love it. Yeah, you couldn't have said that better for sure. I mean, all those issues are so important to everybody now. It's kind of like you said earlier, where you said, it should be where you can only have to care about like things that really don't matter, your favorite teams. That's what it should be. But regular people have had to start noticing what is going on. Like you said, with all the issues in education in terms of, letting a boy dress in a girl's locker room. It's pure insanity. Everyone knows that. Even if 20% are the loudest and they're screaming against it, it doesn't matter how loud you are. 80% of us think that's insane. And I'm just using fake numbers. I don't know if that's actually the numbers, but the majority of people really believe like that's crazy. And we know that's crazy. And we're not crazy for thinking that's crazy. Like you're crazy for thinking we're crazy, and it's refreshing to hear because you have I've talked to a lot of people doing this podcast now, which is really fun, and people that run organizations. Great one of them. I think one of them knows you, Laura Sextro from the Unity Project. Great lady. She ran like a very moms on the ground type foundation about parents that have these heat concerns, and it's hard to realize sometimes. Like I don't have kids, but I'm also not like naive to issues having kids. I pretend like I have them. I use my empathy and my imagination, and if I had them, I'd go, yeah, that's ridiculous. I would not want my kids to do that. And I mean, growing up, if I knew if there was kids who were homeschooled, you're like, oh, that kid's probably weird. Now it's like everyone's homeschooling their kids because they're like, I don't want my kid to be weird.
Yeah, and they're showing that they're getting better results.
Right? Yeah, they're more advanced. They're better results. It's not like back in the 70s, 80s where there was just a Cobra Kai gym. Now there's jujitsu gyms. There's all kinds of there's kids that can get socialized in a normal way without doing this. So parents are doing that option. But now I've seen California say that, okay, but you still have to do our curriculum, even though you're homeschooling. You still have to teach them that, hey, if you don't cut this off, then that means that you're not affirming or some weird stuff like
Yeah,
that. So there's just overregulation. Even when you're trying to like go out skirts and do your own thing, there's still crazy regulation. So it is refreshing to hear somebody like you who says it's just freedom. Like that's what people want. Like, and if anyone has any common sense, there seems to be one side of the aisle as of right now that wants more freedom for people. Like you just clearly said it. You said you don't have to take it if you don't want to. You can take it if you want to. Our position is do what you want. That is much different than if you don't do this, you're fired. If you don't do this, you're a bad person. If you don't do this, you're out of the school. It's a bigger different. And now that we have all the science and everything to prove this stuff, that there have been a lot of things. We have interviewed Dr. Peter McCullough on this show, who's the most published doctor in that specific study, and yeah, we have this information now. So for someone like yourself who said he's running on common sense and is just gonna do the most common sense thing is, which is, hey, we have this proof of this. Let's not do that to the people. It's again like it's refreshing to hear, and we can't promote you enough. It's nice. Hopefully, everything goes smooth because man, we need you in there.
it's we have a massive ground game that's swelling right now. The support that we have all across California. That's I mean, really, my wife and I. That's our daily occurrence. I do everything that I can that I still have to run the sheriff's office. Luckily, technology with computers and phones and texts and all of those things, it's good. And I've got good people underneath me. But then as I'm traveling the state, meeting with people about making the state better, everyone's on board. And what I really, really like is it's resonating that I'm not this Republican guy that's trying to run. It's like, hey, I'm a Democrat and I don't believe in everything that you're saying. There's some things that we disagree with, but I think you need to win and I'm going to help you win because our state is clueless right now. And that's coming from the Democrats. And I do get in trouble a little bit, with some of the things I say because I use general terms like Democrat. And I do have to be careful because I think that we have to have Democrats and Republicans or people with opposing views. I wish we could change their names, but, and get away from that political identity thing. But what's happening when I say the Democrats, we just have to be truthful and honest and say, well, the Democrats have 100% control of California. And if they wanted to change something, they could change it today. And that's the reality. So the common sense and the reason says, well, they don't want to change it. This is exactly what they want. And they keep pushing for more and more. And so me wanting something different when I'm out talking to people, that's what the normal Californian wants. They want just normalcy. They want that common sense and that reason and stop with all the emotions that don't make sense and these crazy notions that you can keep secrets from parents and all of these crazy things. We're kind of over it and we're very hopeful, thankful, and optimistic, seeing that we're seeing on the campaign trail that the majority of Californians come along with us.
Yeah, they definitely are. And it's like I said, there's to see your role expand to this higher level, it's just super impressive. Like we've interviewed Sheriff Alex Villanueva too for LA County, and I told him what I'm going to tell you. I think to elevate that far into a department like the way you have, it's like if you were to make it more relatable to people like that do sports. It's like if Tom Brady, like take Tom Brady, like it's like what he's doing. It's where he was the fourth string quarterback, then he's a starter, then he's a really good starter, and then he's a legend, and then he's a broadcaster, and then he's an owner of a team. It's like that is what you're looking at in the law enforcement sense. Like that's what they're doing, and that is why wouldn't you not want to hire that guy for anything? Because you're like that guy knows football. That guy knows what it's like to be at the bottom of the totem pole. He knows how to be an owner now. He knows how to talk about it. He knows how to do everything. And people like that in any realm, I don't care if it's law enforcement, sports, or whatever, you want to be around people like that because they're knowledgeable about their craft. They're 100% humble because they didn't get everything given to them. And they'll never tell you how smart they are, which is even better because, again, humility. But most of the time, intellect comes from common sense. That's the ironic part, right? Is that common sense should be something that everybody has, but it's not really a thing. It's really comes down to people that are smart enough to go, here's all my options. What's the one that makes the most sense? So when you think about it that way, it's actually not really as basic as common sense. It's more actually like you just have the ability to brainstorm. You have the ability to pick out the best option of all the options given to you, whether it's education, public safety, whether it's budgeting issues, whether it's anything, you know. And I think that is what people should be looking at. Like, hey, look at somebody's problem solving skills. And again, your law enforcement career adds to that because you do that. That's literally what your job was, to solve problems. But there's other people that can be great for that too. But either way, look at someone's problem solving skills and look at how, if they do it with grace, look at if they're egotistical, look at about if they have any sort of corruption regarding them. And I don't see that with anything with you at all. And I think that's why people should be voting for Chad Bianco coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I just to point out, just to draw that down specifically, is I think that my draw, and this is not me saying this is what people are telling me what my draw is. This is why people are attracted to me. Not only do I have the organizational skills of running such a large organization, but I had to build myself up to that. So I have the leadership skills to even have law enforcement want to follow me. And then since I've been in this position, now I'm a nationwide leader of law enforcement. So that inherent, and I call it a God-given ability. I don't think I set out every day, how am I going to be a good leader today? I think God put me here with the skill set that he gave me that has allowed me to emerge as a nationwide leader of law enforcement. So I have that proven leadership ability. I have that proven like ability to win a major county election. I mean, there's only a couple of people in the state that have been elected by more of a population than me. And so with that, I've not done anything wrong in those elected positions. There's nothing to point to bad when you're looking at me. So that's what we're seeing now is I'm running my campaign on leadership, character, honesty, integrity, doing things for other people. That has been my life. And I have an impeccable record. And so what we're finding is that's what people are looking for. And so all of the other opponents that I'm running against, Democrat and Republican, they don't have that. I mean, some of them might have one or two of those things, but they don't have the whole package. So they're trying to attack what I have and say that I don't really have it. And so that's the negativity that comes along with campaigns. But it's a house of cards. It's built on a lie. And so we know that in the end, we're hoping that people just see right through it for what it is, ugly campaigning. And we're just at the point now where California is ready to say, hey, we're done with politics. We just want someone that cares about, that we can trust, that cares about California, and we're going to give him a shot.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. I wanted to get your take because I've been talking to a couple people that are like pretty wildly like uninformed about it, but I wanted to get your take on Proposition 50 because it's obviously a very important thing coming up, and talking to just regular folks, a lot of people don't even know. They're like, oh yeah, I got in mail, I don't know, like, and it's a very serious thing, and I feel like people should be more informed about it. But you can explain it better than I can. So, what's your thoughts on Proposition 50?
Yeah, how you just explained it, that's been the problem. That's why we're like this in California is because people aren't paying attention to politics. They don't vote. The majority, the absolute fact is you can go back on any election and once in a while it's only 30%, but it's more like 40, 50, 60, 70% of the population doesn't vote. And that's a shame. I mean, that's the beauty of being an American. in a free country that we can pick our government, we can choose our government, and 70% of California decides that they don't want to choose their government, and then they wonder why we have all these problems. So that's kind of the issue. And then when you get to Prop 50, this is a perfect example of corrupt politicians. This is dishonest, disingenuous, corrupt politics. That's what Prop 50 represents. And if you vote yes for this, you are voting for corrupt politicians. Because more than a decade ago, 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago now, we voted to take this out of the corrupt politicians' hands. And the districting maps on how we vote for the people that we vote for, we took it away from corrupt politicians and we said, we're going to let normal, regular Californians come up with these maps that are fair. And now you have a absolute corrupt governor, a corrupt legislature that is saying, you know what, Californians, we don't care what you want. We don't care what you as the California citizens want, the California voters. We're going to do whatever we want. And we're going to take this back from you. And we are going to rig this in our favor so we never lose again. That's what we're supposed to be standing up against. And that is why you have to vote no on this Prop 50. And the sad part about this is we see a replay of what happened with Prop 47 in 2014. Three-quarters of our state, more than three-quarters of our state knows that we were lied to by our government, by our dishonest politicians with Prop 47. We voted for something because we trusted that what we were reading was true, and they lied to us. And we've been stuck with Prop 47 for the last 10 years now, and we barely got over it with Prop 36 when everyone realized last year, it's like, hey, we're done with this. We're going to vote to take it away. But what we're seeing is a replay of Prop 47. They send you all the information in your ballot. They lie to you about what it's going to do. They lie to you about why they're doing it. And if you're not informed, you can look at it and say, I guess I'll vote yes for this. And that's what they want. They want you uninformed. They want you not paying attention. And the corrupt politicians are behind Prop 50. So we absolutely must vote no. We have to keep it in the hands of the voters like we did 15, 20 years ago.
Perfectly said, sir. I appreciate it. I got one more question for you, sir. What was that Little League World Series like?
You know, it was awesome. I will have to tell you though, we lost. We didn't win, but it was for an 11-year-old being in Santa Monica. I mean, that was my experience. People have asked me, it's like, I know what the position I played. I was a catcher back then during Little League, but I don't remember the games. I can tell you what the weather was when we were at the beach. I can tell you the entryway of that arcade that I went into. I mean, I was in a new world for me. And, of course, baseball was my life growing up and, even into adulthood. But, that particular time, that was all California for me. It was baseball just got me here. It was about the California experience and truly what built California in my heart that drew me here. That's what that was about for me.
Yeah, love that. I'm a baseball player too, so I totally understand. That's funnest memories of my life, hands down. I played Rivera Park in Pico Rivera, so a lot of fun times, a lot of traveling. You forget the games, you really do. You maintain the memories, but I do think it's important because you mentioned that you have a leadership that's God given. I think that's true, but also I do think you are molded by a lot of moments and opportunities to be a leader in baseball when you're a kid, especially positions like pitcher, catcher, shortstop, center field, whatever. And if you do have that God given talent, then you get to display it pretty early in your leadership abilities. So even more reason to vote for you. You're a ball player. There you go.
I'll agree. I'll agree. There's a lot of things, even in law enforcement. It's a team sport. Every government is a team sport, and if you're an individual player, you can have a team of individuals. You're never going to win. You can put a team of team players with far less talent than those nine. We'll go baseball. Nine of the best players. If they're individuals, they're going to lose to a team with like the fifth string that are all teammates and picking each other up. That team aspect, that's how you're successful. Individuals fail and you fail hard. Teams, when someone fails, the rest of the team picks them up, and that way everybody stays up and everybody stays at the top. And that's really life. We can, if you're only worried about yourself, when you fail, which we all fail, you're going to fail hard and it's going to be hard to get back up. But if you have the personality where you know that relationships and teamwork is what makes the dream work, then you know that when everybody's going to fail, then you have to look around for the people that are failing and struggling and you pick them up, you lift them up and you make them succeed and then you as a whole are succeeding. And I tell people all the time, we've got to promote people in our world that know the value of a team because we're all in the same mission, and that's what I want California government to be is a team making Californians' lives better. But what we currently have in government is a whole bunch of individuals that are just looking out for themselves, and that's where we failed. And that was 100 200 years in the making of a downhill slide. The original people that formed this country and people that formed California, they were not individuals. They were people that were rallying leaders, rallying people around them, and everybody was building to make California a success. And probably through a little bit of empathy, but good times promote weak men, and they breed weak men. It's tough times that make hard men and tough men. And we've just been in a time where things have gone, we've taken advantage of the freedom in California, and that's what's brought us to where we are today. And if we get back to the point where we should be trying to make everyone else's life around us better, and then by doing that, that makes our lives better anyway. I think if we could get back to that, and I don't think it's too far away. I think it's doable, and we will see California gold again, and Hollywood being Hollywood again, and we're going to bring back the teams that we lost and make them part of California again, and it's going to be a good thing.
Well said, sir. Well said. I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's Friday. I know you're busy. People are bugging you for interviews all day. You got your day job where you're running a whole county. So I know you're obviously a big family man. So thank you so much for taking the time. Please do me a favor, sir. Tell everyone where they can find you on social media, where they can go to your website so they can donate or vote for you and all that good stuff, sir.
Absolutely. Follow the webpage. Give us a follow on social media. It's biancoforgovernor.com and Sheriff Chad Bianco on all of the social media pages. Share all the things that I put out there. Let's beat that algorithm. Let's get my name in front of everyone, and let's force that California comeback.
Hell yeah. I love it. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.
This has been Alternate Take. We'll see you guys later. Peace.